We have a long history of trying to squeeze maximum agricultural yield out of minimal space. During wartime, entire populations were pushed to produce food at home in whatever small patches of dirt they could find. The problem is that traditional farming requires vast amounts of land. Planting single crops in long, spaced-out rows leaves the majority of the soil empty, making it a terrible model for modern small-scale growers. Today, if you want to grow more in less space, you are hit with a flood of competing high-efficiency methods. You've got square-foot gardening, bio-intensive agriculture, permaculture, and vertical farming. Trying to compare them directly usually leads to paralysis. Experts advocate for their favorite approach, but they rarely clarify the underlying assumptions required to actually make their system work. There is no universally best or most efficient gardening method. There is only the method engineered for a specific bottleneck. Every agricultural system is bound by three fundamental constraints: time, capital, and space. Intensive gardening methods operate by exploiting these trade-offs. If you lack one resource, you compensate by pouring in an extreme surplus of another. By analyzing the true inputs and hidden costs of the four leading methods, you can identify the exact system built for your personal reality. For extreme space constraints, there is square-foot gardening. The system starts with the requirement to build contained, raised wooden structures. The most critical rule of this method is that you abandon your native soil entirely. Instead, you purchase and import a custom, nutrient-dense growing medium to fill the beds. Traditional rows are replaced by a rigid grid system. Plants are packed so densely they create a continuous canopy, acting as a living mulch. This density produces 2 to 6 times more food than row planting, while reducing your overall space requirements by 20%. But there is an ongoing cost. Because you are extracting rapid growth from a very small volume of artificial soil, it depletes quickly. You have to continuously invest financial capital into fresh fertilizers and compost. Square-foot gardening works perfectly for time-poor beginners with a budget. You are simply trading financial capital for rapid, low-maintenance yields. If you want to spend absolutely zero financial capital and achieve complete self-sufficiency, the polar opposite approach is bio-intensive agriculture. Here, you don't buy new soil, you build it through immense physical labor. This requires double digging, manually excavating and aerating native earth deep underground. Bio-intensive demands strict mathematics. 60% of your land must be dedicated entirely to growing carbon-rich compost crops. This creates a 100% closed-loop system. These crops feed directly back into the plot, building fertile topsoil 60 times faster than nature. The trade-off is edible yield per square foot. Dedicating 60% of your limited space to compost drastically reduces the area you have left for diverse, edible vegetables. Bio-intensive is highly ecologically efficient for dedicated homesteaders, but the extreme labor demands and strict crop ratios make it entirely unsuitable for casual weekend hobbyists. For those land-rich stewards focused on long-term ecological restoration, there is permaculture, a system built around permanent, woody polycultures. There is a heavy skepticism around this method. Many people assume that mimicking a wild, layered ecosystem simply cannot produce viable agricultural yields compared to an industrial farm. Using the land equivalent ratio, permaculture sites scored a 0.80 compared to the entire German agricultural sector, needing slightly more land for the same yield. However, compared strictly to organic German agriculture, they achieved a 1.44 ratio, indicating 44% higher productivity. The practical trade-off here is access. Relying on perennial trees and complex, layered environments makes systematic, rapid harvesting incredibly difficult. Permaculture is a long-term efficiency play. You substitute decades of patience for a resilient, low-maintenance ecosystem, but it cannot solve immediate food scarcity. If you have absolutely zero arable land available, you have to rely on advanced engineering and move agriculture completely indoors. Vertical farming replaces sunlight and dirt with hydroponics, aeroponics, and AI climate control, allowing crops to grow 20 to 40% faster than traditional methods. It also provides massive resource savings. You eliminate pesticide dependency entirely and reduce water usage by up to 98%. The crippling barrier to entry is cost. Startup expenses range from $10,000 to $20,000 per square meter, paired with intense, continuous energy requirements. Those costs restrict vertical farming almost exclusively to commercial operations. To make the math work, they have to grow high-value, low-calorie crops like microgreens and lettuce. Vertical farming represents peak spatial efficiency, but the astronomical capital requirements mean it is completely unviable for individual citizens trying to grow their own food. Choosing a gardening method is a commitment to a specific lifestyle, dictating how you will spend your weekends, your money, and your physical energy. To find the right system, we have to map your most severe limitations. This flowchart shows how to navigate those constraints. If your goal is urban commercial production and you have investor capital, vertical farming is the only logical choice. If you are a suburbanite with a small yard, a budget for soil, and little free time, you must choose square foot gardening. If you are a homesteader with zero budget but high physical stamina, seeking absolute self-sufficiency, you must choose bio-intensive. And if you possess acreage, deep patience, and a desire to feed future generations, permaculture is the path. True agricultural efficiency isn't about adopting every new trend. It is about brutally identifying your own limitations, accepting the trade-offs, and letting reality dictate your method.